Okay, live stream.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a,
Thank you, Jaharan, to join with us for this event. So, Jaharan, you got a wonderful scholarship. So, some parents, some children in our community, they would like to know more so that they can get preparation so that they can, in future, they can apply. So, please share your experience for the community.
okay. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everybody. My name is Zaharan Muhammad. Is my audio okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So, I am done my first year at the University of Waterloo. I am studying civil engineering, and I was a recipient of a $50,000 scholarship. So, this is today I'm going to be discussing like how I managed to get my scholarship and what are some things you like incoming high schoolers or people in high school should do in order to get scholarships. So today I will be presenting an old presentation that I made for the grade 12s for my high school, but a lot of the information will be very relevant and I will go from there. So, how I organize this presentation, I start with scholarships with very large sums of money. And so these would be the national scholarships or the provincial scholarships. And from there, I get to smaller and smaller scholarships that become less and less competitive. So these initial scholarships are really important. They're very competitive, but they're really important if you want a full ride in tuition. Meaning, if you get this scholarship, your entire undergraduate degree, it's possible that all of it can be paid off for, and you don't have to pay out of pocket for it. Especially if you stay in BC and you receive these scholarships, um, your undergraduate degree right after high school will be completely free, basically. There are some caveats regarding how long the scholarship is viable for, and also whether or not you can apply, like use the money for your residency. So I'll actually first start with the one called Smolik, Cmolik, Smolik Foundation, right? This is a BC provincial scholarship, and in fact, this is the one that I received in high school, and it is a scholarship around high school students that will go to university after high school. And in order to be applicable for it, it's a very competitive process. You have to first prove that you're in financial need. And then from there, you have to be nominated by your school. So every high school in BC will have a preliminary application process where you answer some essay prompt style questions, and from there, you
Jaharan.
start. Yes?
We don't see, just we can see grade 12 scholarships, bootcamp,
Hmm.
25. Other than we don't see other writing.
Oh, um,
Can you maybe the refresh or share it again?
okay, I'll try sharing it again. Stop share.
Right.
Okay, share. Okay. এখন করতে পারবা?
Okay, let's see.
No, it's not showing.
Not yet.
Hmm. What I can do? Is there a way to share my entire screen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. এখন, okay. How about now?
Okay, has started sharing screen. It is not coming, maybe. Oh, yes. Perfect.
Okay, this is the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we start now we're on big scholarship.
Send to Zoom, don't send. What you are going to do is there is a Zoom quiet.
Sorry, did I cut off?
I think, can you share again? You're fine.
Because my Zoom said it crashed, so I don't know what happened.
Now we can see again.
Okay. So this is good?
Okay. Okay. Now we can see. Perfect. Oh, yes. Perfect.
Okay, good. So uh okay, to summarize again, I organized these first as the big name scholarships that were coming up. So we have a couple big name provincial scholarships and a couple big name uh, national scholarships. So I'll start with one of the provincial scholarships. This scholarship was started by a very rich man named Russ Smolik, and he decided to use some of his money to help pay for people's undergraduate education. So for this scholarship, you have to first be chosen by your high school. Uh, through essay style prompts that you have to answer in a convincing way. From there, one person nominee from every high school in BC has to compete in a second round. They answer more essay style prompts, which is submitted by an online questionnaire. And from there, the foundation, the scholarship itself, chooses who gets to make it to the next step. Out of all the high schoolers in BC, that number in step three gets shrunken down to about 20 odd something people. And from there, you have to do interview processes. And in those interviews, you have to either clarify some things from your application to show if you're a good candidate for this scholarship, or they might just ask you questions to see if you're the right personality for being part of the scholarship community. Because they really want people that have a drive and proper passion to complete whatever degree that they will pursue right after high school. So if you manage to get through all those stages, you will be nominated for this scholarship and you can get up to $50,000 with this. And this is really important if someone were to get the scholarship because for reference, this would be a full ride tuition in SFU or UBC. So if you get this kind of scholarship, you will essentially have your tuition for those universities be completely free. Likewise, very similar scenario with the BD Luminary Scholarship. A man named, I believe, Ryan Beatty, rich person that wanted to help high schoolers. He created this 40 to $45,000 scholarship. Again, for those in financial need, but you also have to be very academically inclined, very community driven in order to be considered for this scholarship. Um, like the Smolik Scholarship, you have to fill out essay style prompts when the application opens regarding your own personal experiences. You also have to make a video for this scholarship. And from what I understand, although things might have changed, this scholarship is only applicable if you're applying to universities in British Columbia. So those were the two big provincial scholarships that I was trying to apply for. Uh, Two other scholarships that I also considered were two of the national scholarships. So this is even more competitive because it's a larger sum of money. It's almost double, it's more than double what the provincial scholarships are. And here you are competing nationwide. So, for example, with the Loran Scholarship, it is for proving really good leadership and community service, and it involves essay writing prompts, videos, and interviews from people across the country. And you must maintain a certain grade in your university, in order to be continue to have eligibility for the scholarship. So some scholarships, they might require you to just have a certain grade when you are in high school, but some scholarships require you to maintain a certain GPA or a certain grade when you're in university. You also have to continue doing leadership in university and prove you're doing leadership. Likewise, with the Schulich Leader Scholarship, this is specifically for fields of STEM or entrepreneurship. So you are nominated by your high school, like the other previous scholarships, through probably a very simple essay prompt questionnaire that your high school will review. And then from there, you have to compete with every other high school nominee in Canada via sending um, portfolios and videos to prove if you're worthy of this scholarship. And um, it is a very how do I explain this? It's a very um, well-renowned scholarship in a lot of the top universities in Canada. A lot of your colleagues that may go to certain top universities in Canada for entrepreneurship, business, or STEM will be recipients of this scholarship. It's a very well-respected scholarship, and there's no surprise why. If you're wondering what you need to do to even have a chance at the school Schulich scholarship, the alumnus, so the people that already receive these scholarships, their experiences and their personal statements, well, I wouldn't say like their personal accounts of what they had to do to get to the scholarship, their portfolios, their projects are posted online. So if you want to gauge what you're up against in order to receive this scholarship, because it's all a competition, you can first go online, search up the alumnus or the people that already received these scholarships that are going to be published on the scholarship website, and then see what they did in order to be eligible for this scholarship. And from there, you know exactly what to do. Well, exactly what to do in the sense that you know the type of skill and grit needed to get that scholarship. Are there any questions regarding these scholarships?
Hi, Zaharan. My name is Hussein. I have a question.
Mhm. Yes.
Could you explain a little bit about the community services and leadership? What kind of leadership skills they look for, and what kind of community services, for example, you have done, and that can help children?
Okay, so community service and leadership. So, community service and leadership is a very broad category of things, but you should aim for extracurricular activities where you lead things that are very consequential for the community. So, for example, if I were to use myself as an example, if I were to start in my school community, I was involved in my local Muslim Students Association, and some of the things that I did, this was before grade 12, was I helped establish like in-school prayer. So before there was a very small Muslim community and people wouldn't pray during school time, but I walked up to the school admin and I helped coordinate a way to do in-school prayer, and now you can pray in school and there's always a dedicated space for us. Other things I did with the MSA was we would host banquets for iftar during Ramadan, and the entire community was invited, and those were really fun and impactful activities. Other things I was involved in was I became the president of my digital media club in school. So this is all in school. Mm, I took a leadership role in those. Other examples that my colleagues did were they started doing volunteering outside of school. So whenever there was like a city community event, they were volunteering in those, and they may have also taken leadership roles in those in city community events that were happening. And then some people in my colleagues in high school, they would even have started their own businesses or their nonprofits, and then they used the money they earned from those nonprofits. Maybe they were selling some arts and crafts that they like making. and then they turn those businesses into something very consequential for the community by donating to children's hospitals or some local community initiative. So yeah, that's what I mean by leadership and community service. So you take a lead in something that is very consequential and beneficial for the community. A lot of people, they do generic volunteering that everyone can do. It doesn't really set them apart. But if you start something, if you become a leader in something, maybe it was something that you were a part of for a long time. That's a good look because it shows longevity in something. Or even if you start something new, but it's very helpful for the community, um, that can make you a very good candidate for leadership and community service related scholarships.
Jaran, can I add one or two things with you?
Yes.
Hossein Bhai, so yes, the last, I think that the student who got those scholarships last
Yeah.
10 years, all profile, their whole portfolio, what they did, what they submit, everything is given there, right, Jaharan? So we can also get some more information from there. And in addition to that, Bangladeshi, one of my Bangladeshi, Bhatiji, she got the Sholek scholarship, which is 120K.
Okay.
So she did, the new immigrant is coming. She ran some kind of math club, science club, community club, and a new immigrant, how can they settle? They do some kind of program for them. And there's another boy, he got the TD scholarship in Toronto, which is 80,000. He did also some kind of community clubs. He used to run the clubs. So to get more detail, every year 20 students are, I think, getting from TD scholarship. Their whole portfolio, their summary, their interview, everything is there on the this website,
Your
right?
website.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Um,
Perfect. Inshallah, I'll check it there.
So, Jahran, thank you very much.
Thank
It's a
you very much.
nice presentation and very livable. I'm enjoying. So, and Monir bhai, so well, this question for both of you, that for the financial need, do they ask for parents' income or it's just
uh,
for the student, how it works actually?
Yeah, so some scholarships they won't consider your financial status. So from my understanding, the Schulich Leader Scholarship, they just care about your ability in entrepreneurship and STEM. So they'll look at the projects you did regarding those or the um, activities or initiative you're a part of regarding entrepreneurship or STEM. But for scholarships regarding financial need, you need to be able to prove that like you are in some kind of financial need. They will ask for your parents' income. They will ask for um maybe in some of your admission essay prompts or interview questions, they may ask for you how you had to persevere through adversity. And oftentimes they use that question to gauge what kind of financial need you are in. Because if you are already doing really well off, you don't need basically a scholarship to um, attend university, you will be seen as a less worthy candidate than someone who will. Because these scholarships are designed often for people that, if they weren't able to get these scholarships, they wouldn't be able to attend university or the university that they really wanted to get into. So those are examples of ways they gauge financial need. They'll ask for your family's income, and they'll ask for well, that's the main one, but they might each have like specific indicators of financial need that they may ask. And then later on in the interview process or in the application process, they'll ask you when you experience adversity. Oftentimes, that's when you go into detail about your background and why it shows that you are in need of the scholarship.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this is just for the big name scholarships. These were the ones that my school focused on. Of course, there was also the TD scholarship that uh, Uncle was explaining, which was 70, $80,000, and it has probably a very similar process. Now, to my knowledge, I'm not sure about the TD scholarship, but these scholarships won't publish the entire application of all their applicants. And even if they do, it probably will be very inconvenient and hard to find. But they'll publish enough information for you to know what you need to do to get the scholarship. So if you're in, these scholarships are for 12th graders going into university. But if you are in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, you can start looking at what people do to get these scholarships and see okay, and plan your extracurriculars for the rest of high school around those things because a lot of the things that got these people these very prestigious scholarships also got them into very prestigious universities. So starting off in say grade 10, grade 11, maybe even as early as grade 9 because some of the extracurriculars I was doing that got me into university and my scholarship, I started them off as a very junior role in grade 9, and I gained more seniority, I gained more leadership status for those extracurriculars um, as I progressed from high school, right? So this is for the big name scholarships at the provincial and national level. From there, I'm gonna move on to local BC University scholarships. So to start off, the local universities in BC, so this is for people that want to go to university in BC. Uh, I'm the reason why I made this section is because my high school's in BC, and what this section was basically for was to show that a university specifically will give out scholarships. So if you apply to a university and you get in, you can also be eligible for certain scholarships that they may be giving out. So this is true for UBC and SFU. I'm assuming it would also be true for universities like UVic, and then for those watching in Alberta, universities in Alberta will do something similar. So I'll first quickly describe what SFU and UBC does, and then I'll generalize it. So UBC doesn't really describe its requirements for its scholarship, but they can value very high, up to 80,000. So this was higher than some of the scholarships mentioned last slide. And the deadlines for these scholarships are usually before December or very early December. So before you have to do your exams before winter break, that's when you're worrying about applying for these scholarships. Likewise, SFU actually kind of clearly defines what requirements you need for these scholarships. And there are multiple scholarships that these SFU can give. Their deadline is also in December. And I did submit like the website names for these. These scholarships, because they're from the university, they care about your GPA mostly. So they care about your grade. So if you want these scholarships, you got to make sure your grade at the start, like throughout grade 12, is up to par. Because you use your grades from before December term, or like before December month to apply for them, and then that'll get you considered. And then once you get considered, after winter break, during January, February time, you have to send interim grades to see if you're still up to par, you're still up to level. And then from there, they will decide who gets which scholarship. So that's the thing you have to worry about for scholarships for specific universities giving them out. They happen around like before December. Their deadlines are usually early December. You need to make sure your grades for that time period of the grade 12 school year are high for eligibility for this, and then you have to make sure that you maintain that grade even after winter break during January and February. This is during December-ish time of your grade 12 year. For the previous scholarships, just to go back a bit, their deadlines are kind of all over the place. So, for example, the BD Luminaries and Smolik, the application started after winter break. That's when the school started introducing them. And I got selected, I think, before spring break, but then the interview processes have to be done after spring break, and then I got my guarantee, I think 2 or 3 months before I graduated. For the Loran scholarship, this community leadership scholarship, that was around the same time as actually, in fact, it was earlier than the university scholarships. Uh, the deadline was, I believe, in November. The date may change this year. So this was a very early on scholarship. And the Schulich one, I don't remember off the bat, but you have to check their website for that. So for those watching in Calgary, what I recommend doing is seeing if you want to, or those watching in Alberta, check which universities you wish to apply to in Alberta and see what scholarships they're providing and check when their deadline is. Make sure that like your grade for grade 12 matches the requirements for that scholarship in order to be eligible for it because they care more about grades with this scholarship from the universities. So next up, we got what was known as district authority scholarships. So I'm not sure if this is applicable for those in Alberta, but hopefully it should be they should have something similar. So the British Columbian Ministry of Education gave out over $1,000 worth of vouchers for not across, to over 5,000 individual high school graduates. And these vouchers are for things that aren't necessarily related to academics. They cover other areas of interest that people can touch on in their extracurriculars, such as applied business, the ADST, community service, fine arts. Maybe if you are indigenous, this is probably not that relevant to the Bengali community. If you are really good at learning languages, so some people I knew that won competitions in saying speeches in, for example, French, they were studying French, they got these scholarships. Maybe in physical activity, if you're doing a sport, if you're an athlete, you might be eligible for this voucher. If you're going into trades, you might be eligible for this voucher. And how the application process for this works is, first of all, your high school will tell you when the deadline will be. But if they don't, then you may have to search up if you're when it is, something like district authority. What you have to do is you have to create a portfolio, a physical portfolio, or it might be digital, depending on where you're going. But for us, it was a physical portfolio. You take a duotang, you get copies of homework assignments, of certificates that you got from volunteering, maybe, of different projects, different photographs you took that represent you doing these various areas of interest well. And make sure they're copies and not original works, because once you give this duotang away, you're not going to get it back, from what I remember. You get this good duotang with copies of all those things that prove that you excel in those areas of interest. You give it to your high school. The high school will give it to the school district, and from there, the school district will review all these portfolios to see who is eligible for these vouchers. So the application time for this is around spring break time. So keep these scholarships are less competitive. They're worth less money, but they can target those who it can target areas that aren't necessarily academically inclined. They target other areas of interest, other extracurriculars. So if you're exceeding in a certain extracurricular that maybe isn't that academic related, you're still eligible for more money by doing this district authority scholarship. Any questions?
Yeah, so I would like to know just your experience. So this is lots of information. Like when you were in grade 8 or 10, how did you get to know about this scholarship, the information sources?
Okay, so we did not know about scholarships until, like, for us at least, I'm not sure about how other schools did it, but for us, we did not know anything about scholarships until grade 12 started, or maybe at the very, very end of grade 11. And from there, this is like I had to learn all of this from grade 12. Luckily, my careers advisor, so I'm pretty sure every school has a careers center where there's basically a teacher that helps people like get their career. So they help them look for jobs or they help them look for scholarships. So my career center teacher um gave all of us these kinds of informations regarding scholarships bit by bit throughout the school year. And then now I kind of condensed it all into a presentation to present to everyone.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mm,
Okay, I would like to share one thing with Chacha. Is it okay?
okay.
Okay, so you know that when I get some information from you and then from my other students, from my other nephew niece, so a few days ago I just asked some chat GPT and AI, and then some students are grade 7, 8. How can they prepare? The parents could prepare. They give me the for AI, I give the detailed information step by step. So just that maybe the parents who are here, it will be helpful, right? For good purposes, we can use those tools, right, Jaran?
Mhm.
When I search it and then they make the step by step for grade 7, what they can do, grade 9, they can do, what are other available, and what are the scholarships in your school, in your community, in your city, in your province is available, they make the list.
Mm.
Am I? Yes, yes. This is
Yeah,
also Tanvir, but this could be a helpful resource.
that's actually a very good place to start. So, thanks for mentioning that because there are multiple different things that can or places that can provide scholarships. So individual people and organizations can provide scholarships. So the scholarships in the first slide, they were all scholarships started by very rich people that wanted to help pay for people's education. And then municipalities can give out scholarships. The government, so the provincial government, maybe the federal government can give out scholarships. Um, so maybe your high school can give out scholarships. I'll get to that later. Universities will give out scholarships. So there's scholarships for everything. Maybe like famous athletes wanted to give out
Yeah,
scholarships, right? So what you can do is maybe go on ChatGPT, maybe go on Google and search up just like scholarships for grade 12, and then you can search up your university that you're interested in, or your province, or your city, or just say search up federal scholarships, and then go from there. You can kind of learn all this information that I learned um, from my from not co-op, my careers advisors, kind of from scratch, just using the internet. Although it would be really helpful to still rely on your teachers or whichever adult, whichever counselor is at your school, because they personally sat down with kids for years to help them get these scholarships. And they probably know for the application processes what you need to say and how you need to write. It's kind of like going up to your English teacher for help writing an essay or a story. They'll help you out in that part of the application process. Searching up things on Google will just show you all the scholarships that are available. Does that make sense?
perfect. Jaharan, I would like to share one more things to the parents. Okay, I see that there are lots of parents also from my Facebook and then this site. I didn't know. Just last year when I, working with the students who are getting scholarships, can you share it? Some parents told me that a couple of parents, there is some kind of financial assistance in their own organization. Let's see, one of my students that is working at the NMAX, another student is working in the engineering company. When they discuss to their manager, yes, my son and my daughter is going to university. So then they manager apply, ask them to apply for the grant, financial assistance, because they have, for the employee who are going to the university, school is free of cost, right? University is expensive. their food, accommodation. So they apply and they got the financial assistance, they got the scholarship from the company. So the bottom line is here, we need to apply as much as possible. When you do networking, see, I didn't know that, but some parents told me that, Mr. Alom, you can share this information to other parents. So inshallah, it will be helpful for other people.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. So even like the companies the parents work at, um, they'll have money set aside for to help with financial aid for their children's education. So that's also another very good place to look at for getting scholarship money. And the better thing about those kinds of scholarships is you already break the ice with the people looking at the application because the parent already knows probably the person that will give out the money because they work in the company. So it's not as competitive. So next up is something that our high school did was it was called Partners 36 Scholarship. So we were in School District 36 at British Columbia. And so what these scholarships are, so this general category of scholarships, they're local scholarships funded by various community organizations. So these organizations for us would be like Coast Capital, Alliance Clubs, Central Windows. So these are different clubs, they do different community service, different leadership. They're about $2,000 per award, and they're open to any student in our school district. They recognize different things. They recognize academics, they recognize trade, leadership, community service. They may have special interests related to these clubs, and they can for our high school, these applications were open from February to April. So uh, in between winter and spring break, like that middle section, all the way till after spring break. For these, you have to submit a personal statement. So basically, 1 or 2 page essay, whoops, 1 or 2 page essay, um, briefly describing why you want the scholarship or why you'd be a good fit for a scholarship. And then you have to submit your transcript because grades will matter. And sometimes you would need your teachers to send you reference letters. And likewise, like with the previous scholarships, your school will nominate you, and then from there you compete with all the high school nominees in your district or in your local community. And then from there, that's when they choose the final recipient. And then later, you also gotta have to have proof of your post-secondary enrollment. So this is another avenue for looking at scholarships. So there are different clubs, community in your community that will give out scholarships for different things. And finally, what my high school did, so my high school was called Johnson Heights, so that's why I abbreviated it JH. My high school gave out scholarships within the school. This is probably like the smallest sum of money in terms of scholarships in this entire presentation. But what we had to do for this scholarship, the way we had to organize all of our experiences and the stuff that we did in order to get these scholarships are kind of really relevant to how you get any scholarship. So we kind of had to develop a little resume. So here's a sample resume that they gave us from a previous student. So I kind of copy pasted that for this presentation. They have their academic achievements. So they listed down in a resume style format what certificates, what awards they won while they were in high school. Then they did their in-school activities. So this guy was in the student council. This guy was a co-president of a bunch of different clubs. They were in all these different initiatives in school. They give a very brief summary. Regarding these summaries, go to your counselor uh, to help you explain how you should word it. It's kind of like making a resume for a job. There's a certain way you have to describe the work that you do for for your experiences in a way that's concise and also convincing and like it actually hypes you up as a person. They also have their community service activities that they did outside of school, and then maybe some other stuff they did. Maybe if you were working a job or um, whatever, you can put it here. But from here, what we did was we had to make these resumes, and then by a very specific deadline, we had to submit these resumes to our high school. So there'll be a group of teachers that looks through all these resumes, that looks through a personal statement you have to write, and from there, they start giving out different scholarships for a bunch of different things. So these scholarships, they're very small sums of money, so they're not going to help you pay for your education, but it's a good way to get extra money and reward you for different things that your school recognized you were good at. So I think the one I got was, I can't really remember, but oops. You can hear me fine, right?
We can hear you.
Okay. Um, 1 second.
No problem.
Okay, there
Chacha,
we
when
go.
you just searching, I'm like to add one more thing. It's
Yes.
called some award in our province, in our city. It's called Premier Award. There's a
Premier.
first, second, fifth award, and then some is called a President Award. In University of Calgary, my Batizi Neera, she's third year student, engineering department. She got President Award during the admission time because she was the good marks in the high school, and then she
Mhm.
applied, she got it. So all the time we need to dig it out, right? We have also mayor, some kind of mayor award, counselor award. We have also, it's called the community center, Genesis Community Center. We have Calgary Foundation. They also give some kind of award and bursaries. So my request, maybe we need to dig out in our own community, in our own
Mhm.
city, right? Thank you.
So, okay, yeah. Regarding the president and provincial award, I got something similar when I got admitted into Waterloo. So I had a certain GPA, and that made me eligible for a certain scholarship. And for the previous 2 terms, like $2,000 were cut from the cost of my tuition, just because I had a certain grade going into the university.
Yes.
Yeah, so some scholarships you might automatically be eligible for if you apply with like a high enough grade. So
Right.
yeah.
In
So
Alberta, we have also called a Rutherford scholarship. This is automatic. You don't need to apply.
mhm,
$500 if you have from grade four to from eight, sorry, 10 to 12, 10, 11, 12. 3 grades. If you have 80% mark all the subjects,
mhm,
definitely $500 per semester. Your tuition fee will be reduced.
yeah.
If you get 90% or 75%, there's a much and maybe around a little bit means yeah, they get some kind of automatic scholarship for their marks. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's actually really nice. That's why it's so important in grade 12 to like in previous grades, it's possible for you to kind of fool around and not really get high grades because nobody's gonna care about your grades very early on in high school. But once you get into grade 12, that's when it all kind of matters. Once you get into grade 11, grade 12, people use those marks
Yes.
to for really important things. They base your performance academically and just in general in grade 11 and 12 for what you're gonna get into university for. So that's why, especially in grade 12, it's really important to um, bring your grade up and maintain a high grade if you want to be eligible for these kinds of things. Because university is getting a lot more competitive nowadays. And likewise, scholarships will get a lot more competitive nowadays. Like the bar for getting them will get higher and higher. So um, like as a student to student, make sure you don't lose momentum and you kind of maintain your progression. It's like really important to get into that understanding once you step into grade 12. Because right when you step into grade 12, you're immediately, well, give it like a couple weeks and then you immediately got to start making your personal profiles for your university applications and start applying for scholarships. And these deadlines are all kind of chopped out throughout the school year. So you're always going to be having to worry about these deadlines for admissions, for applications, for universities, for scholarships throughout the school year. And it's going to seem very intimidating and daunting, but you just gotta kind of persevere and make sure you don't burn out and lose your momentum because this is a very important time of the year to just to get into university. Once you're in the university of your choice, it feels a bit more freeing because you know they're like the bar for failure is lower. I hope that makes sense. So this is the last slide that I'm gonna touch on before I get into general questions. So this is some general advice that we have that our advisor for scholarships, her name was Miss Crocker, so you see down there. Um, a lot of scholarships will require you to have references. Who are your references? These could be your teachers, your principals, your coaches, some kind of adult or guardian that you worked with for some kind of extracurricular activity, and they can vouch for your work ethic, basically, or they can vouch for your leadership skill. So, important note, when contenting references, because a lot of scholarships will have like a section of the application process, which says like, oh, we need a reference to write something for you. If those scholarships need something like that, contact them 2 weeks in advance before that deadline, right? 2 weeks, right? You just need to give them enough time to write it out because in the grand scheme of things, an adult isn't gonna have like a little like writing a paragraph for a high schooler. It's not gonna be very high up in their priority of things to do. So it's really important that you give them a lot of time in advance to write that for you. You make sure you give them all the information they need to write it for you so they don't have to like, kind of stress about it too much. And within the time up until the deadline, you kind of very politely remind them if uh, they got the thing written for you. Okay? These are really important. If you don't have references, you might, and if you don't submit your references, your application can be considered incomplete, and then you just don't get the scholarship, which is something kind of nobody wants to do. Um, Next up, you have to have your transcript ready. So this could be like a physical copy or a digital copy. And likewise, just make sure you have your grades up in your grade 12 year and also in your like the last grades you get in grade 11. Because a lot of universities, they'll start asking for grades before you get a report card in grade 12. So they'll use your latest grade 11 mark. So um, make sure you have your transcript ready, and likewise, just make sure your grades are up at the very end of grade 11 and throughout grade 12. You also have to have a list of activities that you can very quickly and conveniently consult when like writing your personal profile for the list of extracurriculars you had to do to in like the scholarship admission process. So uh, proof of activities could count awards, photographs, certificates, different information to prove that you were doing the activity you were talking about. Maybe like copies of the physical work you made. And when you're organizing your extracurriculars, have a short description. Describe when you do it, so the time, like like the starting date to the ending date, the frequency, so how many hours in a week you were doing it, or how many times in a month you were doing it, and list of references, so the names and the contact information of the people of like the adult you were working with or you were overseeing when that was overseeing you when you were doing that activity. And then if like you don't really have like a specific person in mind, just maybe like the contact information of like the organization you were working with or the company you were working with. Or if you were doing something that you started on your own, like a nonprofit, the other things should be sufficient. Just make sure you have the proof of your activities for your extracurriculars. The written prompts for these scholarship uh, so a lot of scholarships they'll have online questionnaires, so they have prompts that you have to answer, kind of like an essay. or a very brief essay. And when you answer these online questionnaires, prompts, make sure they're concise and like not brief, but make sure they get to the point. You don't want to ramble. So this is just English class basics. And they always refer back to the prompt. You don't want to tangent off what the prompt is asking for. So always make sure that when you're writing your essay prompts or your online questionnaire prompts, they're concise and very relevant to the question, right? Interview practice. A lot of scholarships may require, especially the big name ones, they'll require you to do interviews. For these, you can consult your counselor, in-school counselor, or if possible, you can get a hold of one of the people that already received the scholarship and ask them, like, oh, what questions are they going to ask me? What are some things I need to know? And then the rest is just general job interview etiquette. And I have a feeling that high schools already teach you um, job interview etiquette um, in their curriculum. So make sure just brush up on those for scholarships that require you to do interviews. And then if it's really necessary, find your counselor to ask them for information of like what types of questions they'll ask. And even better, if you can get a hold of like one of the alumni that received that scholarship and then ask them, oh, what questions did they ask you? That's even better. Also, this is just general, this is kind of a no-brainer, but this is something that my high school, like the folks in my high school were struggling with. Follow deadlines to an absolute T. If something says it's due at 3 p.m. in person and you go walk in and you submit your duotang at 3:01 p.m., that's not going to be reviewed. You have to follow the deadlines exactly. And as a general note, like don't leave things to the last minute. Some people did that for their online applications. And the issue is like, oh, if you just leave all your work till the very end, especially with online applications, the website might just not be working and you don't have time to fix it. And you don't have time to figure out what's the problem. Like don't put yourself in that situation. Whether you're applying for your university applications or your scholarships, don't leave these things to the last minute, not just because it's a bad thing to do, but there are a lot of cases where websites just don't work because a lot of people at the very end, they're kind of rushing, so the page gets overloaded and it becomes very buggy. And then you just can't fix the issue, and then maybe you just don't submit your application on time and you won't be considered. Make sure you're very professional and academic in your writing for getting scholarships. And if you are able to, if your school has it, maybe they already have kind of like resources for you to help you organize your extracurriculars. They might give you websites that has scholarships that are posting year round that they'll just give it out to you and then you can kind of figure it out from there. Yeah. Um, one last takeaway that I want to say is that those scholarships that I mentioned in the very beginning, they're very helpful. They're very useful, but they're really competitive. You have to compete with like the entire province or the entire country to get them. So you can't bank everything on just one scholarship that has the possibility of you getting because it's a full ride scholarship. You gotta do that, but you also gotta get a bunch of other smaller scholarships just to be safe because it's really competitive to get a scholarship with that large sum of money. So you really gotta split up your portfolio basically. Any questions?
Excellent. If you have any question, you can ask the question. Uh, Jaron, I would like to just share my, the from my student life and then from my student life. The most of the student they miss the deadline. They are collecting the document, and then some of my community students, because we work in the community, to my wife and then to me, they ask me last day. But that time I have my own work, right? I have my own family. I have other job. I have other community work. I tell them, no, it's not possible to give in one day, right? So my request to parents, to students, to everybody, at least 2 years, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you could prepare, right? Those documents. There's a possibility. The research says most of the students, they plan, they have the good document, portfolio, everything, but they are not all prepared to submit those reference letters or on time. That is my just personal experience. So
If
maybe
maybe there's something I can re-say or clarify from earlier in the presentation, I can just do that again.
yes, some join. Yes, please.
Like, if anyone is interested.
Okay. Yes, I think maybe in 2 to 3 minutes you can wrap up because some parent join later.
Mm. Oh, look, I just summarize right now.
Yes, that'd be better. If there is no any question, if there is no question.
Okay. So starting off, we have big name scholarships. These are ones where you compete with people from all over the country, from all over your local province. These are often full ride scholarships. So if you get them, your entire tuition is paid off for. But they have a very, very competitive application process. They're often broken up in different stages from like 3 to 5, maybe. Some of them you have to prove that you are in financial need, but then you also have to show that you're a good leader and a someone with very good work ethic, someone who's has a drive to study. Other ones, they're more focused on leadership. Other ones, you have to prove you're very entrepreneurial or you're very inclined in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. And in order to know what you're up against, what's your competition for these scholarships, you can search up what the alumni did in previous years, and from there you can get a sense of what their extracurriculars are. So you can start doing that in grade 10, grade 11, and then from there, just like that's how you prep yourself for these scholarships. Uh, Quick note though, a lot of these scholarships will limit the number of family members that can apply for it. So that's one of the issues that I've found when applying to some of these scholarships. Like, so basically, if some of your relatives already got the scholarship, you might not be eligible for it, and that's gonna suck, but it's to prevent like money being concentrated in like one family. They really want to make sure a lot of people get a chance at university. So that's your big name scholarships. Next up, you have scholarships that individual universities will give out. So these scholarships, their deadlines are usually um, very, very early December. But what you have to do there, because they're university scholarships, they care a lot about your grades. So you got to make sure your grades are up to par in time for those deadlines. And then oftentimes they ask for interim grades. So you send out something that was due very early December. Then you go get your marks from before winter break, and then after winter break, you come back to school. You have to submit interim grades that are around January or February. Um, you got to make sure those grades are also up to par in order to get these scholarships. So these are for university specific scholarships. Next up, you have scholarships within your local school district. This is probably vouchers that your province gives out to you. And this is something that starts in your school. The school will tell you, okay, you need to create a portfolio for a specific area of interest. You submit it to your high school, and then from there, they'll give it to your Ministry of Education for your province. And then from there, they'll determine who gets those vouchers. These are a lot. smaller sums of money, but they're less competitive. So that's the trade-off. Next up, you have scholarships that local community organizations will give. So these are stuff like your Lions clubs. You can also count like local municipal scholarships in this. They'll maybe have some spare money to give for different things. And these scholarships are less about being really good at academics and more about proving that you are doing something in your community. Yes, Jenny raised a hand. Sorry.
Hi, Zaharan.
Hello.
Sorry, I couldn't begin at the I mean, sorry, I couldn't like log in at the time when it started, so I don't know what I missed
Okay.
out. I just had a question from the perspective of being an international student, as
Okay.
I'm kind of helping some international students come here. So I just had a question in terms of when students, what is your experience? Do you have any idea at all if international students receive scholarships? um, at the time of getting the study permit? I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this question. I just want to know if you have any experience at all. At the time of receiving a study permit, they're only required to show that they're going to be able to maintain their living expenses. Since their tuition is covered, say suppose it's covered for the entire duration of their study, and they have also options available where they will be able to work as a um, as an assistant in the university, for
A
instance.
TA, yeah.
So they're like offered a position already as well, which shows that they would be able to also manage their expenses. In these circumstances, what do you think are the chances of that study permit to get approved if they only would have to show their living expenses? Do you think there's a good chance because they received that scholarship?
Um, okay, so this is a bit outside my expertise because I was focused on scholarships that like people in my high school were getting, and most people in my high school were domestic students that will apply to universities in British Columbia or just in Canada. But from what I saw from so I can't really answer this question really well, but I will say that like there are scholarships available for international students, probably by the government, and there are a lot more, or like from the university, and they're a lot more academically focused. Were you asking if like will your study permit get approved if you can prove you can pay for your living expenses? Was that the question?
So yeah, I actually expected that. I don't think you would be able to answer this question because this is, I think you're focusing more on domestic students applying for scholarships, right? So
Yes.
I was trying to understand that for international students, what is the outcome? What generally happens if they receive scholarships? And I know that study permits are like based on the individual circumstances of that student in terms of the ties and so on, right? So, and I understand that you will not be able to answer. I just wanted to know by experience for international students who receive scholarships, for example, in your university, if you have any idea that if they're coming on scholarships, is it like much more easier for them to get that study permit? Or also, do they also face issues, or did they face issues of refusals?
My personal experience with international students, and my colleagues that are international students, they all struggled with study permits. I'm assuming though a lot of them had to come on scholarships because of the cost of being an international student. Like some people got full ride scholarships because they maintained really, really good marks in wherever they were coming from. And then the university saw them and recognized them and like pulled them over. But every international student I knew kind of struggled with their study permits just because of the nature of their circumstances.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. All right, thank you so much. And just
But
another
yeah,
question. Yeah. Okay, sorry. You were
that's
saying
fine.
something. Okay, so the other question that I had is that what happens if after receiving that scholarship, somebody just does not do well in the course?
Oh, okay.
Does that,
Okay, wait. This is actually a really good point. Thank you for
Very
bringing
good.
it up.
Very
Thank
good.
you for bringing it up. So, some scholarships. Wait, were you asking anything else, or is that
oh no,
all?
that's it. Yeah, that's all. Yes.
Okay, okay. So, some scholarships will require you to maintain a certain grade in university in order to continue getting the money, right? So, uh, I don't think the big name scholarships I mentioned were like that. My scholarship specifically, it said you have to be in good standing with the foundation. So that basically, and then we asked what that meant. And the coordinator said that means you have to be enrolled in a certain amount of full-time classes. So for us, it was four. So every semester, in order to be eligible for the money for that term, we had to be in four classes, like take four courses. And we could not fail like more than a certain amount. I forgot the number. And they were pretty lenient with us. We just couldn't fail a lot of our classes, and we had to have four classes each term in order to be eligible for the money. And in order to be eligible for the money. And but if someone were to, for example, fail a bunch of their courses, then it was very clear that they weren't going to finish their undergraduate degree. And that's when the scholarship will revoke their money. Because a scholarship, these kinds of scholarships were a kind of investment. The scholarship, like the businessman who funded the scholarship, they invest in students the scholarship money in the expectation that they will get their undergraduate degree finished. But if you are showing that you're failing your classes or you're not getting high enough grades, then that's kind of like a failed investment on the part of the scholarship, right? You know, this person may not get their degree. That means the money wasn't used for something that it was intended. It would have been wasted. So it's really that's something that you have to once you get your scholarship, that's something you have to, really understand when you get that scholarship, discuss it with your scholarship mentor or advisor. What are the conditions for not being eligible for your scholarship anymore? How many classes do you have to fail to not be eligible for the money anymore? Or what is the grade you have to maintain to not be eligible for the money anymore? So yeah, that's very important. And also, um, just um, like I guess this was an issue, but this is kind of common sense. If someone were to do like get in trouble with their university for a felony or academic dishonesty, then they would probably also no longer be considered eligible for that scholarship. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay,
But that's
thanks so
for those specific scholarships. I'm assuming that like a government scholarship or uh whatnot, that like a full ride scholarship will have its own like caveats. But a big thing is basically you cannot fail a lot of your classes. You might be able to, depending on the scholarship, you might be able to fail some. But if it basically if the scholarship thinks that you won't be able to finish your degree based off the performance you were showing in school, in university, they will definitely take away the scholarship from you.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron. So say suppose somebody did not do well for a particular reason, and it's a valid reason, and in that case, they receive a certain amount of a certain amount that was allocated for them for that scholarship purposes, and now that they failed, and there was a reasoning behind it of valid justification for it, and the university understands it, would it then cover up that period? I mean, like, because you'd have to retake the examinations again, right? So would they replenish him with that amount, or he would have to pay from his end or something?
Scholarships will, so what I understand was scholarships, they will set out a specific amount of money. And even if you have a good reason for not performing well for a certain class or a certain term, because they already set out a very high amount of money for you, they'll probably not go over that amount, right? Because like if your scholarship was 50,000, but then you didn't perform well in a school term, um, you probably have to pay out of pocket because they're under the expectation that you're not going to fail any of your classes. They may allow you to drop a bit just for leeway, and especially if you have a good reason, they're not, if it's a good reason, they won't punish you heavily, but they just by the nature of like the organization, they won't reimburse you with extra, perhaps. But a lot of scholarships, like this is something you'd have to like they're very you have a lot of personal relationships you make when you're in the foundation or in the scholarship community. This is something that you can probably discuss with the heads of your scholarship. They'll talk you through it. But a scholarship will set out a specific amount of money for you, and if something happens and you just weren't performing well, they'll probably not reimburse you with extra.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay.
Zaharan.
So this was local community scholarships, and then um, last one, just see if your high school will give out scholarships themselves. These scholarships, the scholarships at this level will be able to pay for your tuition, but it's if you're doing well in something, you can just get extra money. Um, like a $500 can help you with like groceries when you're in university for like a term, basically. Yeah. Any more questions coming up?
I think you clearly explain everything. Excellent. And then you give the guideline. Maybe parents and students, they're going to search more information. Maybe after 1 month, or we can do one more session. But thank you very much. It is almost 1 hour session.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'd like to end with
Yeah.
something real quick. So, this is kind of late into the school year,
Mm.
but it's really important as a student. I'm assuming that everyone that's here, they're interested in some kind of post-secondary education after high school. It's very important as a student to take initiative in things. So a lot of a kind of funny thing that happened, right? Grade 12 happened, people had to apply to universities. People just started doing community service in grade 12, right? Their applications aren't going to be as convincing as people who started off earlier and just continued something that they were a part of for a long time and just got better at. So it's really so like um and as general advice, some people, for example, they missed their applications, they missed their deadlines because they just didn't care to check or just talk to their advisors, their counselors, or they just ignored the team's notification regarding scholarships, or they didn't attend the in-person mandatory meetings. So it's really important as a student, take initiative in the things that you want to get. They won't be handed to you. Like people aren't gonna just go up to you and tell you, oh, the deadline is now, or the deadline's in a week. You have to do this. You have to go up to whoever has that information. That could be your counselor, that could be just the internet, that could be whatever. Find out what you need to do. Make